Hello, I'm
And I'm
Dylan.
Kiyan.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we betray allies we've had for years in Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Written by Malcolm Hulke, the final serial actually to be written by Malcolm Hulke.
Dang. Well, it was directed by Patty Russell, who also directed Massacre. So, that's a thing.
And it aired in January and February of 74.
Pretty good serial.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, we got the director of Massacre behind this, so, take from that what you will. It's kind of a divisive serial, but this I enjoyed, like most Malcolm Hulke written serials in the past.
Like all Malcolm Hulke written serials, they've all been pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Varying quality, but all pretty up there. But yeah. Apparently, episode 1 was only titled "Invasion" to not to spoil the fact that dinosaurs were going to show up, which ended up not being too much of a major spoiler in the long run.
And they also completely failed at that because the Radio Times put out a comic preview of the story, which featured the Doctor and a pterodactyl. So they spoiled it anyway.
Times. Thanks.
So episode 1 was also junked in the late 70s, I guess. So it only exists in black and white. So that's also fantastic.
Yeah, why it was only episode 1 is a mystery to me, at least.
And most people, no one really knows why they only junked episode 1 and not episodes 2 through 6, which all exist in color.
Maybe they had to do one episode for whatever reason. They decided to go with the one that featured the least amount of cool, awesome-looking dinosaurs. And by cool, awesome-looking, I mean not very good, even for like 75.
Well,
the dinosaurs too were of varying quality, I think. Unfortunately, the T-Rex was the most prominent one, and it was also one of the worst looking ones, so we'll get into that.
Well, it begins with the Doctor and Sarah Jane presumably carrying on immediately from the previous serial until you realize that the BBC recorded a radio drama in the 90s that is set between these two serials, so...
Which I guess clears up the continuity mishap that it looks like they both got haircuts in between this serial and the last. Like it's pretty noticeable, actually.
Right.
Not that it matters, but yeah, they show up in... Oh, the Doctor's trying to get them back to Unit HQ, but he misses by however many miles, and they wind up in a park, I believe. Or some sort of lawn somewhere.
In London, which appears to be completely and utterly deserted.
Right, and at first I thought they entered some other era, like they just overshot or something weird was going on, which it was, but no, they actually they're back in the 70s, but no one's around.
Except
oddly enough,
some looters.
Yeah, and
running around stealing stuff.
Yeah, I think the Doctor makes this comment, like, oh, all of England shuts down on Sundays, and maybe it's a Sunday, I don't know. Yeah, but there's some looters around, who are looting things. Apparently everything's deserted, so they're taking this great opportunity to steal stuff.
Yeah, and then one of them's found dead, and that is the only death in this serial. The serial couldn't get away with not killing anyone except in the very first episode. But the Doctor and SJ carry on, eventually getting arrested under suspicion of being looters. Meanwhile, at Unit HQ, the Brigadier is trying to convince General Finch not to do anything until the Doctor arrives.
Right, General Finch is part of the regular military, and he's been called in for a reason we don't know yet, but something is going on, and central London has been turned into a militarized zone. And you see a map with the locations of quote-unquote enemies, but we don't know who those enemies are yet, but you probably do, because it's called Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and they're dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, anyway, General Finch makes a snide comment like, "Oh, I guess he's just going to appear out of thin air, isn't he?" And the Brig's like, "Something like that."
Yeah, except how he actually appears is a lot less glamorous. Because the Doctor and Sarah, I'm just going to call her Sarah, I'm not going to call her Esther. I've decided, are pulled into, I guess, questioning. Which, and by questioning, I mean getting pulled up, asked what they're doing, getting assumed to be looters, and getting sentenced. And they meet this...
McCarthyism.
They meet this other prisoner. Well, first they have their pictures taken, and the Doctor, their mugshots actually, and the Doctor sort of messes around with the military police and smiles and whatnot, and Sarah kind of does too.
Yeah, then the Doc's like, "All right, let's go one of all of us now, come on in." And then the military guy's not impressed at that. But eventually, Benton's kind of looking over the reports of who's been arrested that day, and then he sees a picture of the Doctor, and he's like, Brigadier?
Right, so the Doctor and Sarah get pulled up, they're sentenced to labor, or they're sentenced to some sort of detention while the military occupation is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they meet this other detainee, also sentenced, and this is an actual looter, I suppose. And they devise this plan to escape, which involves luring the guard over and knocking him out. You know, not too ingenious, but there you have it. So they do that, and then the guy immediately turns on the Doctor and Sarah.
Unsurprisingly, of course. But the Doctor pulls out some Venusian Aikido. And
he uses a lot in this serial, like, more times than he usually does.
He does get captured a lot in this serial.
Yeah, I'd say
multiple times over.
There are more situations in this serial where he needs to use it and does, so...
It's kind of the third Doctor's trademark at this point.
Yeah.
First Doctor had his and the second Doctor sort of had his recorder that disappeared for like half his tenure.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Doctor, it does escape.
With Sarah, obviously.
Sort of. They run up to a Jeep, and they're trying to start the Jeep, and it's not working, and as they turn around, the soldiers are like, "Oh, guess you're ready to go to labor camp now," and the Doc's like, "Well, how was I supposed to know it was the labor camp Jeep?" And Sarah's not impressed, but the Jeep gets stopped by a T-Rex.
Pretty lighthearted response of them. I think in the back of their minds, they probably know the Brig is going to somehow clear this up. But yeah, they get stopped by the T-Rex. You finally see the dinosaurs. And back in the day, you know, this might have come off as a surprise if you hadn't already spoiled it for yourself thanks to Radio Times or word of mouth or whatever. But yeah, the dinosaurs, I think we can talk about their design maybe as they come up. They're obviously models, and because they don't appear...
Probably puppets, be honest.
Puppets? You mean? Yeah. In what sense do you mean, like
not like hand puppets?
Yeah, obviously.
sock puppets.
Yeah, they use sock puppets for the dinosaurs.
No, like the ones that you control from above.
Yeah, well, the pterodactyl obviously was. You could see the strings at some point. I think the other ones were sort of just, you know, toy models, actually. Well, maybe. No, you know, maybe you're probably right. You're probably right, because I assume they didn't want to do, like, stop motion with these things, but, yeah, they're obviously not, big, is what I'm trying to get at. They're little, so they obviously don't appear next to, any people in shots that aren't green screened, is what I'm trying to get at. And also, I guess we can talk a little bit about why this serial was made and why the dinosaurs are a part of it.
Oh, yeah. No, apparently the serial was, like, partially commissioned because someone came to the BBC, I don't remember their name, was like, "Hey, you know, I can make really realistic-looking dinosaurs. Let's do a dinosaur thing." And they were like, "Okay." And then they did, and the dinosaurs came out to be terrible. So, I mean, that's awkward.
I mean, I guess they were still pretty bad, but... You know, they probably didn't look as bad as we're seeing them today, back in the 70s.
I mean, when you could see the strings of the pterodactyl, it's...
Okay, the pterodactyl is just bad. I have much to say about the pterodactyl later. The T-Rex also looked pretty bad, but the Stegosaurus...
the Stegosaurus was the only one that I would say looked good.
Yeah, the dinosaurs didn't exactly move very much.
Or at all.
Well, the T-Rex did. The Triceratops, I know its head moved, and it was made to move because you could clearly see the separation between its neck and its body. Like, it was blatantly obvious where the plastic sort of cut off or whatever material was used for this.
There was also that scene with the T-Rex and the Stegosaurus going at it, which was kind of on quality, even for the 70s.
Even for this show.
Yeah.
The T-Rex, I guess I'll also just mention now, maybe this is just an oversight on my part, because, maybe I don't know enough about dinosaurs, but it looks like the T-Rex had human ears. Almost. I thought it was a little strange, just wanted to point that out.
Maybe it's a guy in a T-Rex costume, but they didn't cover his ears.
No. It's like the anti-Blue Man group. I don't know.
Well, moving on.
That's where episode 1 ends.
Right.
And, despite what we just had to say about the dinosaurs, this serial does get pretty interesting. And I think we're going to have a lot to say near the end about the dinosaurs' involvement in the serial itself.
I mean, considering I think one of our episodes is titled Dinosaurs Don't Make Good Villains or Good Enemies, or however we worded it.
Yeah, we'll get into that once we finish discussing the actually majorly interesting plot points that go on.
And the big twist that's coming in episode 2. But so Sarah and the Doctor escape into a like some sort of garage. I just want to say that I blatantly noticed someone just standing in the background behind Sarah Jane in this garage. Like,
what?
Just standing in the background. Like, I don't know who it was, because it definitely didn't look like the peasant who comes running in the next scene. So maybe it was just some cast member who got caught in the shot, but just... It's like at the 3-minute mark of episode 2. So if you're watching at home, you can go back.
For all those viewers at home,
you can see the random guy just standing like in the background behind Sarah.
It's like Planet of the Daleks, where you can blatantly just see their shadows as they stand off screen waiting to come on. I didn't notice that though. Wow. But yeah, they head into this garage. Meanwhile, outside, units' weapons aren't effective at all against the dinosaur. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But they meet this medieval peasant.
Yeah.
Who accuses the Doctor of being a wizard. You know, kind of maybe a little throwback to last week. But he's not, obviously.
Like last month if you were in the 70s.
Yeah. And they question the peasant, and he says he's from King Richard's time, or
King John.
That was actually I could have sworn he said Richard his first appearance, and then they when they mentioned him later they said John.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't paying attention though. But he disappears almost immediately after he shows up.
Yeah. There's
this weird line effect on screen, for lack of a better term, and he just dematerializes, which is odd. And the Doctor just kind of... Well, he has this theory as to what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
As usual, doesn't really elaborate on that.
Not yet, at least. I guess he needs more evidence, considering he's just met a random peasant who's just disappeared, and he's been captured for looting in London that's, like, deserted.
And there's a lot more to the story, actually, than what he's seen so far.
More.
No.
I don't think that's a reference anyone would get.
But it's a reference I would get. And I've had enough of that for one lifetime. Anyway.
I know, I agree. Anyway, so the Doctor and Sarah eventually make their way back to Unit. I don't remember exactly how.
Somehow. I actually think it's revealed. The major twist is revealed now.
Well, I think it's just after this, because I think first Sarah talks with Yates, and Yates mentions that he had to have some time off after the Green Death.
And
he's just back off of leave, and then And then the doctor mentions, oh, I have a theory, we could, stun one of them, and then that's when the twist is revealed that Yates is working with the scientists who are bringing the dinosaurs to London.
Right. Prior to this, I think we'd seen maybe one scene with some business-ish looking guy and a scientist working in some sort of laboratory.
Yeah, Professor Whitaker.
Yeah. And, Forrest Whitaker. No. And they're obviously, based on the dialogue, they're obviously the ones bringing the dinosaurs to London.
Yeah.
And then it's revealed that Yates is in on it with them. Who would have ever seen that coming?
Yeah, it's actually a huge plot twist, and I think it's pulled off pretty well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because they don't just outright state it, and you're kind of left up in the air, is he an inside man?
Yeah, I mean, until... I guess we're just going to say it now. Yates isn't an inside man. He's actually working for them, and until episode, I'd say 5, I still had my suspicions. I was like, Yates can't possibly have betrayed Unit.
Same.
Because there's almost no indication that he, in prior serials, that he would, and it sort of makes you... I don't know if I want to say this now. Actually, I think I want to save this for later because there's going to be a lot more to discuss with Yates. So
yeah, plus we haven't revealed what happens to him at the end. It's revealed that Yates is working with them, and they want Yates to do something that's going to get the doctor killed. And Yates draws the line at murder. He says he doesn't want anyone to die for this.
No, but he also
specifically the doctor.
Right. He also says he doesn't want to harm the doctor at all.
Yeah.
He says he agreed to help them because he agrees with their cause, which we don't know what their cause is yet, by the way, but he says he doesn't even want to harm the doctor. And when there's a betrayal like this, it sort of makes you think, okay, was the character's past actions and interactions with all the other characters all just fake? I mean, were they putting on an act, or what's their real personality here? But I think Yates is sort of what's the word? Solidified here. His past with the doctor and everyone, I don't think was fake. I mean, I think he was just drawn in by these guys' cause.
I think think he was drawn in by the cause because of what happened in the Green Death, where everybody almost died, and the whole the Nut Hutch is trying to make the world a better place and everything. And I think he just kind of got drawn into that. And then when these guys show up, he kind of gets.
He jumps on the first boat he sees, I guess. But no, I think they did a good job throughout this serial, cementing the fact that Yates really does care about the doctor, the Brig, Benton, Joe. She was still around. He doesn't really know Sarah very well.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job showing that his intentions were in the right place. Mm-hmm. It's just he went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, and there's the brief hint at the betrayal before you actually see it, when Sarah's talking to Yates about him coming back after his time off, and Yates is like, I like it like this with no one around, and Sarah's like, Yates, what are you talking about? And Yates is like, oh, nothing. And then it's revealed he's totally working with the guys who are doing it.
But we don't know why they're doing it yet, and we won't for a while.
Yeah, not till episode 5 or 6.
Which also worked to the serial's advantage. I feel like a lot of serials reveal the mystery too early, and then it's just sort of the rest seems sort of almost just falling action from there.
This one just made the mystery more complex in episode 3.
Yeah. That episode 3 cliffhanger though. I love when they introduce something that seems totally unrelated and then they all just tie it back. That was so good.
Well, I mean, as long as they don't tie it back in some really tenuous, terrible fashion.
Well, this wasn't, so...
Yeah, okay. So episode 2, Yates eventually puts this little device on the doctor's stun gun that disables it.
Right, which the doctor and presumably everyone else wants to capture a dinosaur to find out what the heck is going on. And I don't know, I kind of had my suspicions for a little bit. Maybe they were sort of dispelled at this point, but when the dinosaurs first showed up, I was like, watch them just be robot dinosaurs or something. Watch there not actually be a connection to previous times, but... No, they're actual dinosaurs, so I was completely wrong.
Right, so the stun gun doesn't work and the Doctor's about to be killed by a T-Rex because the Brontosaurus he wants to capture goes away and the T-Rex shows up and then Yates busts in, takes off the thing and stuns the T-Rex. This is into episode 3 now.
Right,
stuns the T-Rex.
He undoes what he did to the stun gun and uses it. And they capture the T-Rex. And the model on its side, when they tie it down with chains at their base, just looks terrible. I mean, obviously the T-Rex was knocked out, but it was literally just a stiff plastic model on its back.
We should mention that the Doctor changed from his green coat into the blue one, which previously appeared in the Sea Devils.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of this serial.
I mean, presumably the first episode was in black and white, so I don't really know if he changed in episode 1 or if that's just another continuity error in the assumption that it leads immediately on from whatever we watched last week.
Yeah, the Time Warrior. I'd say it's the latter. Latter, not ladder.
Yeah. He's
wearing
the
a ladder. Right, so the Doctor obviously wants to find out what's up, and the Brig keeps making mention that the dinosaurs aren't the real problem at hand here, and General Finch seems to think they are. Suspicious, but anyway, Sarah Jane wants to help in any way she can. She's being quite pushy about it. The Doctor just basically tells her to buzz off, pretty much. The Doctor, in this serial, I feel sort of regressed to what he was in season 7, almost, and I think that is in large part due to the fact that Jo is left. I mean, Jo was who really made the third Doctor open up, and now she's gone, so...
Except the difference is I didn't hate the Doctor in this serial, because at least in this serial he was working with the Brig, unlike in season 7 where he just antagonized the Brig at every turn.
Yeah, that's true. I do feel he took a turn for the more brusque. Ever since Jo has left, it was kind of evident in Time Warrior as well.
Yeah,
I think.
But I don't think he tells Sarah to buzz off. I think he just says, like, hey, can you leave me alone while I'm working on this? And she's like, okay. And then she goes to get her camera because she's a reporter. And General Finch tells her to go...
Right, well, she's made mention that she's looked into time travel that scientists have been working on in recent months, I guess.
Yeah.
And she mentions a guy named Whitaker, who is actually the guy working with Yates and Butler, I think his name was, in the lab. And she mentions that he's gone missing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we know where he is, but she doesn't. And he's had some very interesting time travel theories that he's published, I guess. And she wants to look more into that, but then she encounters General Finch.
Yeah, who tells her to go take pictures of the T-Rex because the Doctor wouldn't let her take pictures of the T-Rex. Well, not the Doctor. The Brig actually doesn't let her take pictures because it's all a very top secret unit hush-hush thing.
Right, and civilians really shouldn't even be in the area. She just happened to show up with the Doctor.
Yeah. I mean, well, and the Doctor does, to his credit, he goes, no, Sarah's my assistant. She's allowed to be here. So, he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
But General Finch is like, hey, why don't you just go take some pictures? I'll let you in. It's totally okay. And she goes, and then the flash from the camera wakes up the T-Rex.
Right, and its chains have been cut.
Suspicious.
Sabotage. And Sarah almost dies, I guess.
And that's the end of Sarah Jane. Turns out she only had 2 serials. I mean, who knew?
No. She survives.
The Doctor eventually opens the door and saves her.
Yeah.
This was the one scene in the serial where I actually thought the special effects were kind of impressive with
Really?
The T-Rex ripping apart the building. So I was like, how would they even achieve that? That's just impressive.
It's just a model, obviously.
It's the most impressive looking special effects for this serial.
I guess. I kind of liked the line effect they had going on with the time distortion. It was all right. The intro kind of blows everything else out of the water. Not in modern terms, but obviously they're put more budget into that. So they only have to do it once. But since I brought up the intro, we might want to mention that I don't know. It had this. I think it was in episode 2. The intro had this weird sort of blue tint over it. Did you notice that? It looked.
Yeah, I did notice that, and I was curious as to why that was, but I don't know. Might have just
me neither.
It might have just been an error in production, or it may have just been an error introduced later. I'm not sure.
But it's not important at all.
No, it's not important at all. But they also faded out the music this time, so it wasn't as abrupt ending as last time.
Yeah,
so they finally got that down, at least.
Well, I mean, they had it down, and they buggered it up like last serial, and then they went back to what they were doing before. Maybe they were actually just trying something different and realized that it was worse.
Yeah. That it was just terrible.
Right, but Sarah decides to go see
the Prime Minister. Or the MP.
The acting minister because everyone else has fled to who knows where. Out of central London, at least.
Yeah.
This guy's shown up before, actually. We didn't mention him. He's published a couple books on clean energy and stuff like
ecology or something.
And he's, supposedly working as best as he can to solve the whole dinosaur crisis. Dino crisis. No. You know that game, right? Dino crisis? No, anyway.
No, I don't.
Anyway.
Is it like Time Crisis?
Anyway, Sarah goes to see this guy. And it turns out he's working with Yates, Whittaker, Butler, and Finch.
We haven't even revealed Finch yet.
Oh, right. Well, it's slightly obvious.
I guess. I didn't see it coming, so when it was revealed Finch was in on it, I was like, whoa! It became obvious as soon as Sarah, almost gets killed by the T-Rex, and then Finch is like, who could have done this? Yates?
Yeah, I'd say it was obvious. I knew. Maybe it's just the, what's it called, the hindsight bias. But either way, Sarah gets knocked out.
And wakes up on a spaceship in episode 3 ends.
Well, when she's knocked out, I think this is when she's knocked out, she gets or maybe this is when the T-Rex attacks, she gets a bruise on her forehead.
It's when she's knocked out. She mentions, because she mentions it later, I think.
Either way, she has this bruise on her forehead, but she wakes up on a spaceship.
Well, she might have gotten it when the T-Rex attacked, because she had to have known about it before she got knocked out, so it must have been when the T-Rex attacked. What? She has a bruise on her forehead. That's all that's important.
Right, she wakes up on a spaceship, and some people come into the room and say, "Oh, you're finally awake." And she goes, "What? Where am I?" And they reveal that they're heading to a new planet to inhabit it.
New Earth. Reminds me of that sci-fi series from, I think, either the 80s or the 90s called Earth 2, which only ran for one season, and you can find it on Netflix. And the quality of the show varies wildly from "this is great" to "this is absolutely horrendous," because nobody makes any logical decisions on that show. We're on a completely uninhabited planet. What's the best plan? Split up, obviously.
So kind of like seasons 1 and 2 of this show. Anyway.
Yeah. I was listening to the first part of a free audio drama, and Fifth Doctor makes a snide comment about that. He's like, "Oh yeah, my problems always seem to be caused by us splitting up." I was like, haha.
But yeah, the people on the ship reveal that Sarah has been in suspended animation for 3 months. And that she's finally woken up.
And now everyone's watching the serial at home is like, what?
And I'm just going to say, they tie this back to what's going on later, and I love how they do this. Because it throws a completely different wrench into the plot. Yes, not only a wrench, a completely different wrench.
Multiple different wrenches.
Wow,
I was going for something completely different, but I don't remember what it was anymore. But yeah, it just throws completely different, multiple wrenches into the plot.
So, meanwhile, back on Earth, the doctor thinks something is suspicious with what's his name? The the acting minister.
Grover.
Grover, Grover from Sesame Street. No.
Well, the doctor and the Brig go to see Grover?
Yeah, it's Grover.
Or do they go off to the Who-mobile bit?
Well, the doctor goes in the Who-mobile.
Yeah, the Who-mobile.
The Who-mobile. This is the first introduction of the Who-mobile. The doctor. I love how unceremoniously the Who-mobile is introduced. They don't lead up to it. They don't mention it at all prior to 2 seconds before it shows up. It's just the doctor says, "Oh, I'm gonna take this new vehicle I have," and then immediately gets into it. And it's this sci-fi, not even sci-fi. This crude sci-fi. 70s looking hovercraft, yes.
But it's
with
so
big
cheesy.
Fins on the back.
It's so good because it's so cheesy. No, but apparently it was introduced because John Pertwee was a big fan of like spy culture and like spy movies, and he wanted like a spy element for his doctor, so they're like, here's a hovercraft.
The Who-mobile is definitely subtle enough to be a spy vehicle. No.
Well,
almost when he first got into it, I was like, in hindsight, it looked nothing like the Mach 5, but I was half expecting him to press a button on the steering wheel, have the entire chassis just shoot up or like spew out oil or something. I don't know.
He only uses it for like an episode, and then it doesn't show up, and then it begs the question, like, where's Bessie? Like, what have you done with Bessie?
He sold her for scrap. No.
He's been with Bessie for like 4 years now.
Apparently, I think I read that he only drives the Who-mobile twice, despite requesting it.
Yeah, well, then again, his tenure is like only
it's
left
almost over.
this season,
Yeah.
so... Imagine if they'd introduced the Who-mobile instead of Bessie, and we had it for...
Well, I mean, if they'd introduced it instead of Bessie, I think we would have gotten attached to that instead. So I'm a little attached to Bessie. I was like, hey, where the heck is Bessie, Doctor?
Well, yeah, Bessie's her own character now.
Pretty much, yeah.
She's got a personality and everything. Just like, they should bring Bessie back in the reboot. Why haven't they done this yet?
I think you mentioned that the Doctor mentions that he needs the Who-mobile due to its high-speed capabilities, and you were like, well, doesn't Bessie have like a warp drive?
Yeah. So,
well, there you have it, and there's a nice little
Who-mobile.
scene with the Doctor driving this thing around the deserted streets of London, and I just imagined him driving it around, on a normal day-to-day basis. Just this car in the middle of a bunch of normal cars, this hovercraft-looking thing on the streets.
I'm sure I've seen a picture of that exact situation, of them, like, driving it to a convention or something, just in the middle of the road, like, among all these other totally regular cars. No, but we should put a picture on Facebook or something, because it's just fantastic.
Like that,
it's probably the best set of the show. No.
Set?
It's basically, prop piece, set piece.
It's a prop.
Yeah, prop.
It's a vehicle.
It's a vehicle. Do you think he keeps it in the TARDIS?
I don't know. Why would I know?
I don't. I'm just asking. Like, where do you keep that? You think Unit is just gonna let the Doctor store his hovercraft?
I wouldn't doubt it. I really would not doubt it.
In their basement. It's just like a collection of weird vehicles the Doctor's assembled in his time at Unit that we've just never seen on screen. The Brigadier's just like, Doctor, we need to do something about your car problem.
Yeah, now we're just jumping to completely unrelated conclusions. Right, but the Doctor drives the Who-mobile to go see Grover. Almost said Glover for some reason. And he's not exactly there. So the Doctor goes snooping around and finds this elevator. This hidden elevator that goes to a secret underground basement thing. Which is more of just an underground complex. With suspicious signs all over the place.
Yeah. Well, we should mention that's not the one that Sarah Jane got captured in Grover's office. This one's in the London Underground. Because he followed someone from Grover's office to the Underground, which is where he saw the other guy get in the elevator.
But it's all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And he goes snooping around, and Whittaker and Butler notice his presence. So they start activating these steel roll doors, I guess, roll-down doors, to cut off his path, to make sure he doesn't see anything he shouldn't. Because this is where their lab is located.
Yeah.
And so the Doctor obviously has this set path that he's going along, as given to him by Whittaker and friend. And then the pterodactyl attacks.
Yeah, when he goes back up in the elevator to the Underground, and the pterodactyl attacks.
And I had several problems with the scene. One, we already mentioned the pterodactyl, you obviously just see the strings. My other problem, and I don't know if you noticed this, but the pterodactyl sounded odd. It's
like
cry,
a person just screeching into a microphone?
Its cry just sounded like someone going, ah, 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 ah.
Because it probably was. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Roy Skelton, voice of the Daleks, next to the camera going, ah! into the camera or something.
And I almost just broke down laughing here because the pterodactyl, you couldn't even see it on screen. It was just a blur on screen. It was just moving so fast all over the place and sort of just grazing the Doctor and just going, ah, ah. And it was just lovely.
Immediately before that, when he's in the base, I just want to mention that the supposedly brick walls shake back and forth when the Doctor bumps into them at one point. Like it's obviously a set. So I just wanted to mention that. So many little things in this serial. But we should also
what makes it good.
We should also not cut Sarah Jane out of her credit in that she believed there was a plan. She knew there was a plan in the Cold War era to build underground bunkers for high-ranking members of the British government, and she went to Grover to find out if any of them had been built. And it's revealed that the one that they're using under the London Underground is one of those bunkers because it happens to have a nuclear reactor, which is what Sarah Jane was also searching for. So credit to her for figuring it out, but no credit to her for getting knocked out and shoved on a spaceship.
She does her part in this serial, especially once she gets on the spaceship.
Yeah, but in the end, it doesn't really matter because the Doctor makes it just in time to stop him anyway.
I liked Sarah Jane in this serial. I liked her actions on the ship.
No, yeah, what she does is good, but in the end it was all for naught because the Doctor was the one who just ended up doing everything in the final episode.
The Doctor's the main character. He's the one who saves the day. And
yeah.
I don't think that's... I know, I mean, I think I'm, even more than you, one who wants the companions to do more, or at least I was. But I don't have any problem with the Doctor being the one who... takes action in the end.
No, I agree. What I'm saying is what Sarah Jane totally did for the whole serial just ended up being completely worthless because the Doctor ended up stopping the whole thing in the end anyway without her help, is what I'm saying. Which is what I was kind of had an issue with because I was like, well, then why would you give Sarah Jane all these things to do and then just...
I don't think that negates what she does on the ship, though. I mean, what she does is, like, it's good. Not good as in, like, yeah, it's enjoyable to watch, but I mean, she does a good thing for those people on the ship.
I guess, but it's kind of like someone would have done it eventually if it wasn't Sarah Jane. So I guess my problem was the Doctor just came along at the end, saved the day without Sarah Jane actually doing anything, and then everything she did was kind of worthless, even though, like, she was doing things, you know, yay, she's doing things as a companion, but at the same time, like, it all turned out to be for naught.
Okay, well, we should probably explain what all this is before having this discussion, although we, already are. But anyway, on the ship, Sarah is obviously not suspicious, but she just doesn't believe what's going on. And she's like, what? I'm on a spaceship and I have been for 3 months? And then they're like, yeah, we're going to this new planet, New Earth, so that we can re-inhabit it because old Earth is too polluted and it's unsalvageable. So here we are, and she's like, what? No. So they send her to this re-education room where she apparently, I guess, has to watch a documentary about pollution and overpopulation to remind her that their mission is virtuous.
Yeah.
Honestly, that if I was in her shoes and this is what happens, I would probably just be more annoyed by having to do this. And she's given some bread to eat.
Yeah.
Which looks like a piece of plastic and probably was. And I guess tasted like one too because she doesn't need it.
But before anything else happens on the spaceship, episode 4 ends with this cliffhanger where Whittaker has called up the doctor's like, hey, I'll meet you where you were going to do your experiment. So the doctor's like, okay. And he goes and supposedly, quote unquote, gets caught in the act of teleporting in a dinosaur because Finch shows up with the Brigadier and is like, see, we caught him.
And the Brig agrees. The Brig says, you're under arrest, Doctor.
In a really unenthusiastic way.
Yeah, but then you find out that he may have just been playing along at this point.
No, yeah, I think he was.
Yeah,
he was just playing along.
We mentioned that Whittaker was the one who called the doctor in, but he also mentions that he wants to meet the doctor in private, and that he's been imprisoned by the ones who are causing all this, and that the doctor's the only one who can help him. But obviously that's not the case. So
yeah,
the doctor's taken back to Unit HQ into episode 5, and due to Yates' uncomfortableness with everything, I think the doctor deduces that Yates is the one who's in on it.
Also, I presume the doctor saw Yates use his stun gun correctly earlier and maybe put 2 and 2 together.
Maybe.
Because I mean, I don't think he solely figured it out from that, but I don't think he also solely figured it out because Yates was being shady as all heck in episode 5.
Well, yeah, I think he it's sort of like an amalgamation of all of all the suspicion he's been under this whole serial, and now it's finally at its quote unquote breaking point, and the doctor's like, okay, it's Yates.
Yeah, and well, anyway, Finch tells him to lock the doctor up. The Brig reluctantly follows Finch out of the room, and then Benton sends off the other 2 soldiers to prepare a jail cell, and he's like, all right, Doctor, shouldn't you be getting started now? Well,
Yates is the one who orders Benton to do it, and Benton says, you can't be serious, Yates, and he's like, nope, do it, Benton, and walks away. And then is when Benton takes one for the team here.
Yeah, he's like, shouldn't you be doing your Venusian Uja, or whatever he calls it?
The doctor thanks Benton, and Benton lets the doctor knock him out. And I don't know, maybe it's just because Yates was being an insufferable, betraying jerk in this serial. Well, not really, based on what we said before, but maybe it's just because of Yates' betrayal in this serial, I'll say. But I liked Benton a lot in this serial.
And the Brig. I liked both. This was the unit finally gets their character development time serial.
Yeah.
Because everyone got character development. Yates has his betrayal. Benton and the Brig become buddy-buddy with the Doctor while Sarah Jane's off gallivanting in space.
And I'll just say this now. Did you notice John Levine's intense sideburns in this serial?
Didn't he always have them?
Yeah, but they weren't as wide.
Yes, I guess. I thought he always had them like that.
Pretty sure they weren't as enlarged as they were in this serial.
Well, the Doctor makes a break for it, and he runs off, and Sarah Jane on the spaceship is like, you know what, I don't believe any of this. I'm just going to walk out of the airlock. Okay, bye, guys.
She argues with,
what's his Adam?
Some guy.
Is his name Adam?
I don't know.
I feel like it was
There were a few important people on the spaceship. There were the 2 elders. And then
who Sarah Jane recognizes, which is also why she is kind of suspicious of everything.
Right. Apparently, they gathered together important people, supposedly like smart people or whatever to go inhabit this new planet, and they're semi-famous, so she kind of knows who they are. But she decides to go out the airlock because she doesn't believe they're in space. She believes, well, we don't know what she believes, but she doesn't believe they're in space. And she's right, they're not.
Imagine if they were in space.
She pulls a Katarina and just gets shot out into space. And they're like, we told you we were in space. No, that doesn't happen. They're actually just in an underground bunker. Under Grover's office.
Yeah, but also under the London Underground. A la Web of Fear.
Yeah, did they go under the underground in Web of Fear, or were they just in the underground? No, I think they were just
in the underground.
Yeah. So yeah, it turns out that Grover and co. have told these people they were going to send them into space, but in actuality, they just locked them down in this underground bunker for who knows how long. And use the dinosaurs to evacuate central London, at which point they're going to use some sort of device.
Well, they're going to use the same device to, instead of bringing the dinosaurs forward, they're going to bring a whole of Earth backwards to reset it kind of back to how it was in, like, early human days. Or earlier.
But they've erected some sort of, not force field, but just the immediate central London area isn't affected, which is why they've gathered all these people here. So they're essentially going to send these people back in time by reverting the entire Earth back to a prehistoric state and having the people they chose repopulate it and start over, essentially.
Yeah. And
basically, they think the Earth it's too late to save the Earth, so they're just going to start everything over again.
But then, Sarah gets captured by Finch at Unit HQ. She leaves a note, and then she gets thrown back into the spaceship. Why? I don't know, because that kind of backfires against them. Oh, no, she doesn't get thrown in the spaceship. She gets thrown in a cupboard, but she escapes and gets back into the spaceship. But, yeah, the Doctor runs into some dinosaurs, and episode 5 ends with the cliffhanger of the Doctor and dinosaurs.
Right, he's with the Brig. I don't remember the whole she gets thrown into a cupboard part, but yeah, whatever. It's not that important.
Well, she ends up back in the spaceship somehow. She doesn't get thrown in there. I remember that much.
Right, but yeah, the Doctor and the Brig are going around now into episode 6. The dinosaurs start fighting each other. The T-Rex and I think it was the Brontosaurus.
Well, he's not with the Brig yet because there's that humorous scene where the Doctor's running away. Actually, most of episode 5 is filler of the Doctor running away from the army, but episode 6, there's a scene in the alleyway where he sees a Jeep coming. He's like, okay, great. And the Jeep shows up and it's Finch.
Yeah.
And then another Jeep pulls up from the other side and it's the Brigadier and Benton. And the Brigadier's like, let him go, Finch. He's a unit prisoner. He's mine. Finch is like, this is mutiny, Brigadier. And he's like, I'm just doing my job, Finch. Come on, Doctor, let's go.
So yeah, now this is when the dinosaurs start fighting each other. God, this fight scene between the T-Rex and the Brontosaurus.
Stegosaurus? Brontosaurus?
I think it was the Brontosaurus.
I don't know.
It might have been the Stegosaurus. I don't know. Oh yeah, I didn't mention, there was this scene way earlier, back in I think episode 2, where when they were trying to capture one of the dinosaurs, the Doctor walks up to the Stegosaurus and the Brig tells him to watch out, and he says, don't worry, Brig, it's a herbivore. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't change the fact that it's, like, over 10 foot, has spikes running up and down its back. Its tail can probably crush you in one swoop. It's still dangerous, Doctor. Anyway, they're driving around. The Brig grenades some dinosaurs.
Well, earlier on they discovered that the grenades were the only way to get the dinosaurs to go away because the guns weren't working, so...
Right, I think we've neglected to mention this entire time that the dinosaurs sort of fade out of existence after a while and go back to their own time.
Yeah. But, so the Doctor eventually tells the Brig that... It convinces the Brig that they need to bomb through the elevator to the London Underground. Because originally the Doctor had taken the Brig to see the elevator that he had found and it wasn't there because they removed it. Haha, TV trope. But But they go back with dynamite, and it's just the Doctor and the Brigadier being all buddy-buddy, just pretty nice to see. It was pretty nice to see, actually, to see them working together like that, and their silly banter back and forth.
It's better than them being antagonistic, I'll say that.
Then with a Triceratops shows up, and the Doctor's like, "Can you take care of that, Brigadier, while I wire up these explosives?" The Brigadier's like, "I think I can handle that." But Benton, back in the base... well, at this point, it's been revealed to Benton and the Brig that Yates is in on it, because Yates had walked in on the Brig and Benton discussing the plans, only for this other guy to walk in carrying the tea and distract Yates so Benton can knock him out.
Right, that was Bryson. He was kind of, like, I guess sort of the comic relief replacement for Unit, since they weren't comic relief in this serial. I think he's going to be a replacement for Yates. I'm pretty sure he's going to show up again in some capacity.
He might. Who knows? I don't know. I don't. But I do know when Yates comes back.
Same. This isn't the last we're seeing of him, I'll say that. What happens? Right, back on the... Right, Yates pulls the gun, and that's when they
knock him out.
That's when they're sure of his mutiny, because the Brig and... Benton, I guess, believes it. The Brig doesn't, but they both don't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it, but...
Well, I mean, when he's pulled a gun on Benton and the Brigadier,
That's when you know... I mean, that's... I knew for sure before, but, like, that's when they know. Right, back on the spaceship, Sarah's trying to tell everyone what's going on, and they don't believe it, and she says, okay, well, fine, I'll just go out of the airlock again, and you'll see that we're not actually in space.
Well, before she does that, Grover comes in through the airlock.
Freaking Grover. He comes in through the airlock because one of the elders has requested his help, and he was supposedly, at least they believe, that he was on one of the other ships that was going along with them. There were supposedly multiple ships. So he comes over. He comes in wearing a spacesuit, pretending, I guess, to be all tired out from his space trek over to the other ship.
His EVA.
What's that?
It's the name. It's the official name for a spacewalk. It's extravehicular activity, I think. And then,
sounds scary.
Inside the spaceship. It's an IVA. It's an intravehicular activity.
Yeah, all right, makes sense.
Fun facts. Well, you know. But eventually Sarah Jane, they convince the one elder, because Grover would talk to Sarah Jane and the other guy. I think his name is Adam, but it might not have been.
We'll just call him Adam. Your name is Adam now. They demand an explanation for his plot, and he explains it. We already explained it. Apparently through paper-thin walls, because one of the elders is listening in on them. Yeah,
and that elder convinces the other elder to let Sarah Jane go out of the airlock, and she does, and then they're all like, wow. And Sarah Jane's like, the people who convinced you of this are outside, let's go!
So they get their torches and pitchforks and... No.
They've also woken up a bunch of people, we should mention. They've lifted them out of cryosleep or something. Meanwhile, the Doctor's blown a hole in the elevator and somehow made his way down into the base.
Yeah, they make their way to the base somewhere or the other.
The Benton is supposed to be getting reinforcements, and he tells because the Doctor sends the Brig back to the Jeep to see if there's reinforcements coming. And Benton tells him there is, but then Finch has a gun to Benton's head, I guess making him tell the Brigadier that those reinforcements exist. So you assume that reinforcements aren't coming, but the Doctor busts into the control room with Grover and Whittaker and Butler, basically the same time Sarah Jane does with the crew, and then the Brigadier busts in with his reinforcements, and I guess they just brush over the fact that somehow, I guess, Benton overpowered Finch. Or did they show that? Benton overpowers Finch at some point.
You know, they show it because I remember thinking Finch has this gun to Benton, and Benton he overpowers. He just turns around and locks Finch down on on the table, and Finch, he's too fast for Finch to use the gun. And I was like, wow, it's really impressive.
Benton and the Brig, man. MVPs of the serial. But the Doctor shows up, and but it's too late, because Whittaker's already activated the device. Reversing time, only for the Deus Ex Machina of the Doctor being a Time Lord, giving him immunity to the reversal, so he just walks over and flips the switch back.
He does it in sort of slow motion, though. I don't think he's fully immune to it. He's just more immune than everyone else.
Yeah, but he does mention to Sarah later, or Sarah asks how he did it, and she's like, wait, let me guess, Time Lord. And he's like, yep. Mm-hmm. It's
still a Deus Ex Machina, I'd say. But at least he didn't just walk over and do it, is what I'm getting at. So he stops it, and Whittaker's like, oh darn, our plan failed. Well, except less enthusiastically than that.
Because Grover leaps over, is like, no, we can flip it again. And then Whittaker's like, no, wait, he's reversed the polarity.
Somehow, even though he only just reversed the lever that Whittaker had pulled. But apparently the Doctor's reversed the polarity, and Grover pulling the switch sends only him, Whittaker, and the machine back to prehistoric times.
Yep.
That's what happens to them.
Are they dead? We don't know.
I don't think they're dead. That the Doctor says that
presumably they die eventually.
Yeah, I mean, they're back in, I guess, what's the age of dinosaurs, or at least like maybe an ice age or something.
The Doctor's line about that is actually kind of dark, because he says, because I think either the Brig or Sarah asks where they went, and he's like, back to the golden age. I hope they enjoy it. It's like, whoa, Doctor, whoa.
But yes, the day is saved yet again, and this is what we were saying before, like, whether or not any of the stuff that happened on the spaceship with Sarah Jane had happened at all, this would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't think that negates the fact that Sarah was doing a good thing on the ship.
I mean, it doesn't. My problem with it was just that whatever Sarah did was completely and utterly useless.
But I think just the fact that it was a good thing and she was actually being an active companion makes it not useless.
Well, I mean, not just as character development-wise. I'm talking, like, story-wise, someone would have come along later and just told them all about it. Like, what she didn't contribute to the resolution of the plot.
Right, well, story-wise, but, like, as a television show, it works better than her just doing nothing.
I mean, she could have pulled, like, I'm going on vacation this week, Elizabeth Slade, and then they could have just been like, buzz off, Sarah Jane, and she could have just not shown up for 3 episodes.
Yeah, but would you rather have had that?
No.
See? Anyway, the serial ends with everyone back at Unit HQ. Yates has been, well, I think an expanded universe stuff, or we find out later, I'm not sure which. He's not been court-martialed. But
the Brig actually mentions it, because Benton's like, so what about Yates? And the Brig says, extended sick leave with the chance to resign quietly. And the Brig says that was the best he could do.
Yeah, I guess I didn't catch that. But, they gave Yates, that sort of farewell, I guess. Sad to see him go. Like, I know he comes back later, but it's sad to see him sort of go out like this.
But I think it was good. It's better than him just not showing up. Like, they have all these other unit characters who show up. Like, you remember Osgood, that mechanic in
No!
Damon C? No! Exactly my point.
But this was a big serial for Unit. If you've been listening to previous episodes, I've been wanting Unit to play a bigger part for a long while, and they finally do. And this was a great serial because of it, and it wasn't what you'd expect from the Brig, Benton, and Yates. You'd expect them to go along with what the Doctor has to do. But no, this was a huge plot twist, and I didn't want to believe it for several episodes. I just didn't want to believe that Yates had betrayed everyone.
Yeah, because Yates has been here for like 2-3 years now on the show. Totally buddy with the Doctor. Probably even more so than like Benton or the Brig was until now.
That's debatable. More than the Brig. He and Benton were sort of, I think they saw the Doctor more as their superior than the Brig did.
Yeah.
So, that might have been...
I think the Brig sees him as his equal, and I think now the Doctor sees the Brig as his equal, whereas I think when the third Doctor started, at least, he saw the Brig as beneath him.
Yeah, I think he saw everyone as beneath him.
Yeah, but I think he recognizes the Brigadier as his equal now, at least.
Yeah, and that's... I wouldn't say that this serial is the one that was the turning point for that.
Well, yeah. It's been a gradual change, which is good, because I think we predicted that would happen back when he started.
Yeah, or at least we hoped it would. Right, and I mentioned that Bryson, the unit dude who showed up before, might be sort of a replacement for Yates from here on out, and I noticed the connection of him. This is, I guess it's not really a connection, but he goes and makes some tea or whatever, and when in Yates' first serial, he was the one who's like, hey, I'm gonna go make some cocoa and stuff now, and stuff like that.
The Doctor's Bunsen burner.
But yeah, it's just really interesting and not something I thought they would ever go for.
Well, I mean, those are always the best serials, right? The one where they do the things where they don't, that you don't expect.
Unexpected. And if you had told me,
like a week ago, that they were gonna court-martial Yates and he was gonna betray Unit,
yeah, wouldn't have believed it.
I mean, neither would I. I don't think anyone would have, because it did feel kind of out of left field, but I think it also feels like a natural progression of what happens after the Green Death.
It feels a little left field, but out of left field rather. But I was okay with it because of what we said before. It doesn't feel like Yates is just fully turned on everyone. You can see that he's still, respects the Doctor and the Brig and everyone, and he's sort of just doing what he thinks is in everyone's best interest. Which is go along with this foolhardy plan to kill everyone, but...
It's not going to kill them, they won't exist. It's like not killing them, but sort of... I mean, there's also the scene where the Doctor's talking to Yates about it, and he's like, this isn't the way to do this, Yates. You have to take the world that you're given and make something of it, and not, do this.
When life gives you lemons.
Well, I mean, what Yates is doing is, like, making life take the lemons back and then making life not exist. What? That's not how that works. No, but yeah, there was the scene with the Doctor and Yates, which this is another in a long-running line of the Doctor talking with one other character about something pertinent to the plot, which I'm going to talk more about in the Pertwee retrospective because I have something to say about those scenes.
Don't forget it.
I won't.
Multiple weeks.
I have. I meant to mention it back when Joe went out, but then I was like, well, I forgot it, and then I was like, well, I guess I'll just leave it for the Pertwee retrospective because that's like 4 or 5 weeks away now anyway. So, yeah, and then we didn't mention the serial actually finally ends with Sarah Jane going, yeah, well, I'm not getting in that TARDIS ever again. The Doctor's like, we could go to the planet of Florana. There's like... flowers and stuff. I mean, better than that, because that's kind of a terrible speech.
Yeah, he articulates it a lot better than just, let's go to Florana, they've got flowers and stuff.
Obviously something's going to go terribly wrong, because, I mean, the title of next week's serial obviously indicates something will have to go terribly wrong. But, yeah, so... Unit. The Whomobile.
They finally got their... chance to have a serial for themselves, which is something I've been looking forward to for a while, and I think this serial really did the job on that. And it's sadly Malcolm Hulke's last serial, and I'd say he's my favorite writer for the show. He's done my literal favorite serial for the show, and a lot of other great ones like this. Yeah,
he's done a lot of good ones. I don't know if he's written my favorite serial in the show, because I don't know what my favorite serial is right now. I'm too lazy to think about what
it's not the War Games.
Yeah, it's probably... War Games is... It's either the War Games or something else. It's probably the War Games, which Malcolm Hulke actually co-wrote with Terrence Dix, but... yeah, there are clearly writers on the show who are consistently good, and Malcolm Hulke was one of those writers. And, so it's a pity that he's not going to be writing any more stories.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the consistently good thing is just subjective. Like if
Yeah.
You like the writers, what the writer does, and like, okay, their series are going to appear better, but sadly, he's not going to write anymore for the show. I think
we're also coming very soon to the end of Terrence Dicks's run as script editor. I think Robert Holmes takes over pretty soon now.
Well, he's also a prominent name, so...
Yeah, possibly even next week already. So I think he did make an uncredited script editor appearance in this serial.
Huh.
So I think he takes over very, very soon, maybe next week, but I'm not sure about that. And then I guess we'll see if the show goes through any changes under Robert Holmes or not, rather than the Terrence Dicks, Barry Letts era. Do you think we'll get a new producer with Robert Holmes being script editor? Do you think Barry Letts is still on for a while? Because I don't know if who follows Barry Letts as producer.
Me neither. I would say that Letts is going to stay on for the rest of the season, but they already switched producers mid-season way back when, so, I don't know what's going to happen.
Was that back when Verity Lambert
Yeah, it was Verity Lambert.
Yeah,
she switched
she left
mid-season.
in the middle of season 2, didn't she?
Yeah. They switched to someone whose name I'm forgetting right now.
Yeah, there was someone, and then I don't know if there was someone between that person and Barry Letts, but then we got Barry Letts.
Yes, there was. I don't remember their names.
Yep, so kind of coming to the end of an era this season. Obviously, it's the final season of the Third Doctor. Also, final for a lot of things, and the final for Yates, I guess. He does come back once more.
At least once more.
At least once more.
I know when he shows up again, but we're not going to spoil that.
For the listeners, at least. We've spoiled it for ourselves already.
Yep.
So you can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. What do you think about Yates' betrayal? Are you as shocked as we were? Because that was pretty shocking and disappointing.
I'm actually surprised we didn't spoil it for...
Not disappointing in story-wise, I mean disappointing. Like, I'm disappointed in Yates for betraying Unit.
Right, I'm surprised we didn't spoil it for ourselves, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I spoiled it, right before watching episode 2 when I was verifying the death count for episode 1, but at that point I was watching episode 2, at which point it was revealed anyway.
But still, I wouldn't have...
It was kind of during episode 2, so I was like, wait a minute, I have a death on here. What? And I went on the wiki with the episode playing on the side.
Huh.
And I read it, and then 5 minutes later I was like, oh, damn it, Yates.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I didn't... Actually, I'd say this is one of the biggest plot twists that I'm glad I didn't spoil for myself.
Darth Vader's Luke's father!
Who doesn't know that? That's the most spoiled plot point in anything ever. I think we actually mentioned this on the show last week or 2 weeks ago or something.
We mentioned it last week, but I don't remember if we were recording or not. No, we weren't recording. We were discussing the other thing.
Right.
You can also check us out on iTunes at Trust Your Doctor. The website is decorativevegetable.com. Keep an eye on the website. Something may be coming up soon. That's all I'm going to say. And you can find us on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor.
So go ahead and check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook, check us out on Twitter, follow us on Twitter. And if you remember, I think it was last November, we posted a link and mentioned this book about Doctor Who recons called The Lost Lords of Time by Hugh Pearson. And that's a really in-depth look at recons, and a lot of what we've watched so far is recons, because we started right at the beginning. So we're pretty interested in that, and if you are, you can check out this book. And Volume 2, the previous one was Volume 1, but Volume 2 is coming out this summer, according to the author. And I'm looking forward to that because recons are just an interesting ride, so for better or worse. So there you go. We'll link to that also when it's out. So go ahead and check that out. But next week we're watching Death to the Daleks. So until then, the end.